I want to turn now, though, to COVID-19. The Senate one step closer to passing the COVID relief bill, while the Biden administration announced this week that with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the nation will have enough doses for every American adult by late May. That's 2 months earlier than previously expected. But several states are relaxing COVID restrictions, as Texas Governor Greg Abbott did this week. President Biden fired back.
Effective next Wednesday, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. Also, I am ending the statewide mask mandate.
I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference. The last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime, everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it.
Sahil, I'm going to start with you. You're sitting up there at the Capitol. You are following this debate on the COVID relief bill as we speak. It was supposed to be voted on by now, wasn't it? So what's the holdup? What's happening right now in the Senate? And how different will this bill look by the time it's all done?
Amy, the bill was supposed to be voted on starting this morning, a series of amendments, but it faced a 9-hour delay as Senate Democrats had some struggles getting all 50 of their members on board. They have a wafer-thin majority here, and they moved this bill on a vote of 51-50 with a tie-breaking vote of Vice President Kamala Harris, so they cannot lose a single member. They had some rebellion within their caucus over what unemployment benefits should look like. A Democratic aide telling me just moments before this show began that they have resolved that difference and come up with a deal that Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, the centrist Democrat from that state, has agreed to. Essentially, the jobless benefits would, at the federal level, there would be $300 a week. They would continue to September 6th. And one of the big concessions that Joe Manchin got is imposing an income cap on who is eligible for the tax-free portion of it, which is $10,200. So a major piece of news here for Senate Democrats that enables them to go forward. They intend to do an all-nighter tonight, I'm told by one member of Democratic leadership, and they hope to pass this $1.9 trillion package by this weekend, which would send it back to the House. If the House passes the Senate version, President Biden would be able to sign this bill.
So, Jonathan, once again, Senator Joe Manchin is the center of attention in a 50-50 Senate. Yes. He's got more power than anybody. How does he keep using this? And what do you think he does going forward and the reaction to him from some liberals?
Right. Well, anybody who's been to the great state knows that there's quite a few roads and buildings named after Robert C. Byrd, who, of course, was the late long-serving senator out there and one-time Democratic leader. I think if Manchin, who knows his politics back home pretty well, if he plays his cards right, I think there's going to be a lot of things named after Joe Manchin here when all is said and done, because he has a lot of leverage. He is right in the middle of the caucus. Amy, I was in the Capitol today, and the left is fuming at him. And I asked a couple of GOP senators, I said, do you think at some point that the left could drive him away from the party and you guys could take back the majority by making him Republican? And both of them, who were very plugged in senators, said no, Joe's a real Democrat, that we can't get him over. And then one of them said, but you know what, why would he want to switch anyways? He's got so much power right now, we don't have much of a lure because he's having the time of his life.
Yeah, this is not Jim Jeffords back in the days when we were up there in the early 2000s. Amna, in the couple minutes we have left, you've done so much reporting on COVID and the public health issue. And I just want you to discuss what you've been reporting on about, the fact that it feels like we're going so far. We have these vaccines, they're getting to people, and yet at the same time, you're seeing these governors roll back things like masks and mask mandates. What does this do for public health, and what are the experts telling you?
Yeah, I do think it's important to point out that, that for all the backlash to Governor Greg Abbott in Texas lifting the mask mandate, it was sort of lightly enforced to begin with. And so we're not really sure how much of a difference those kinds of things make when they're not really enforced in the first place. But also Governor Tate Reeves in Mississippi did the same thing. And for all the talk about, this is Republicans acting one way, Democrats acting another, this is not a red or blue issue. There's a lot of governors and local leaders following the science on this, which is to say that the mask masks make a difference. There are now firm studies from the CDC, really one released just in the last couple of days, that basically said we've studied the county by county breakdown, places that wear masks lower their infection and death rates, places that don't raise them. And so you even have Kay Ivey in Alabama extending the mask mandate, Jim Justice in West Virginia extending the mask mandate, although he may start to lift some other restrictions soon. Look, where we are right now, there's things to put in the good news bucket, right? Infections and deaths are going down as the vaccine's being rolled out. We now have 3 out there in circulation. But there's reasons to be concerned. There's still upwards of 2,000 Americans dying every day, right? And there's still these new variants to contend with, and we don't quite fully know the efficacy of these vaccines against those variants. And so the two have to go hand in hand according to the experts, right? If you lift the mask mandates and mitigation efforts too quickly, you're basically counterbalancing the vaccine rollout. And that's the challenge for the administration. How do you get people to stay firm in the mitigation and still roll out the vaccine fast enough to make a difference?